Hi guys, welcome back for another video. From the title you can see we are reviewing the book The Girls Who Grew Big by Leila Mottley. Now this is the second book that I've read by Leila Mottley. The first one was Nightcrawling, which I did review on my channel, so I will maybe put like a card or I can link that original review in my description. But I actually really loved Nightcrawling, so then when I saw that Leila Mottley had a second book, I was like, absolutely, I need to read it. And I also really loved The Girls Who Grew Big. So 2 for 2, Leila Mottley, let's get into it. So The Girls Who Grew Big follows the story of three teenage mothers, or girls who were teenagers at the time that they got pregnant, and it kind of like first of all explains the girls is like their story, and then like how they came to be in the area that they're living in, and then how their stories kind of like intertwine. So for example, the first girl that they talk about in the book, her name is Simone. She is the oldest mother of them all, so she was a teenage mother and then she like grew up, and so she's still there with her kids, and so she is kind of like the leader of the pack, and they call them the girls, obviously. And the group kind of was like formed out of necessity. So they're in this town in Florida, and a bunch of the girls are just like, making bad decisions, ending up being teenage mothers, that kind of thing. And so because she was the first one to do it, she became the leader. And just like I said, out of necessity, this group kind of formed. And because she did it first, she had all the information. So like, helping them throughout their pregnancy with like nausea and that kind of stuff. And then even after, let's say they had like a clogged nipple or like things like that, like just because she experienced it, she was able to help them and guide them. And then a lot of the girls ended up not having their family members, right? So when their family members abandoned them or kicked them out, like at least they knew they could come to Simone because she had this like group. And so she kind of is the one that like starts off the book, and she's talking about like her journey and what motherhood has been like for her and all that good stuff. But as the story like unfolds, it kind of like follows her thinking of like, okay, I have these kids, I don't want to be with their father, what am I gonna do like for my kids, and how am I gonna break this cycle and change my life? Like, yes, this is my home, and yes, I've helped these girls out, but like she also had more for herself, which I thought was like a good like storyline to follow. So that's the first girl, Simone. The second one, her name is Emory, and Simone and Emory are kind of connected because Emory's baby daddy is Simone's brother, and it's a very small town. So like as you can tell, like a lot of people know each other, and it's like if somebody else becomes pregnant, like it's the news of the town, like kind of like small town rumor, gossip stuff spreading around very easily. So Emory, she's white. She's very smart. She can go to any college that she wants to after high school, except she ends up getting pregnant by Simone's brother. And so she lives with her grandparents because her mom had her really young and then ended up like running off and being an addict. So the generational trauma just like passes on to her. And her grandparents were taking care of her up for a little while, up to a little while after the baby was born. But then they ended up like kicking her out because they were like low-key racist and didn't like her black baby daddy and all of that crazy stuff. So her story is kind of like trying to figure out if she still wants to even pursue college, if she can, now that she doesn't have any support, and then also navigating like those like tricky like racism, racial issues with her grandparents, which is the only family that she has in her community, right? So that's number two. And then the third girl, Adela, she is actually, so her grandmother lives in this Florida neighborhood, but her dad moved to I think it's Indiana. So that's where her dad, her mother live. When they find out that she's also pregnant, they send her back to this community with all the girls and her grandmother. And so that's like a huge culture shock for her because she is not used to like this like rural small town life, but then she's also not used to like the girls being, because they describe the girls as like being kind of like ratchet and ghetto and living however they want to live. But now she is a part of them basically because she is a teenage mom, or will be a teenage mom. So she comes back. She basically joins the group regardless of like the things that her grandmother tells her or like what she's noticed for herself, because newsflash, this group of girls is the only like type of like community and sisterhood that she'll have. Like everybody else is gonna shun her and, you know, ostracize her and that kind of thing. So she's there. She becomes a good addition to the group for a little bit, but then she starts forming like a relationship with this boy that she meets there, which ultimately could potentially just destroy the whole group because, like I said, it's a small town, it's a small community, people know each other, and so it just kind of tells the story of these three girls, their journey, like growing up, how they got to become teenage mothers, their relationship with each other while being teenage mothers, and then their journey going forward in life. And that's really the whole like synopsis of the book, and I just love it. I feel like it was like such a great like topic to talk about, which I think I also said in my previous book review of Nightcrawling. I'm just gonna jump into my like, by the way. My first one is that the topics that I feel like Leila Mottley talks about, the first one was about like teenage or like, yeah, teenage prostitution in like LA. And now this one is like teenage motherhood in Florida. And it's like original and unique content that like you're not really just reading about anywhere, and I just love her for that. So that was my first like, very original, very easy to read. I was interested and wanted to know exactly all that was gonna go down. So my second like is all three characters were very original, and I liked learning about their stories. I won't tell you like too much more about their stories just because I don't want to like spoil the book. I usually give like a little bit, but not too much, right? Because you still have to read it for yourself. But the way that their stories was explained was very great. It gave a lot of like context to who they were, and context to like the decisions that they made going forward with being like moms and that kind of stuff. Number three, I really liked the sisterhood that came about from these like, as people would say, like unfortunate circumstances. So yes, they were teenage mothers, and yes, most of their families like kind of like kicked them out, and they didn't really have like, some of them didn't really have much to like look forward to besides being a mom. Like they wouldn't graduate high school or go off to college, but they formed a sisterhood, right? And the sisterhood of like, if something is going down, like we're all gonna come together and try to help, or you know, just having each other's back. I'm gonna look out for your baby if you have something to do. I'm gonna take care of your baby this night, if you know, that kind of thing. And I thought that that was nice. I think sisterhood and friendship is always great to have, and so it was nice to see that kind of play out in this book given the circumstances. And I like that the book talked about the challenges that come with being a mother. Granted, these girls like brought the challenges onto themselves kind of early, but regardless, being a mother comes with challenges and sacrifices, and it was good to see them kind of like work through the struggle, work through the tough things that they had to deal with, and then ultimately make decisions that they thought were best for themselves and for their children. So that was also really, really good. And I love the ending of this book. I was not disappointed. I was not left hanging. I wasn't annoyed, anything like that. I feel like the book ended on a really good note. So I feel at peace with how it ended. And guess what? I do not have any dislikes about this book. Like on Goodreads, I gave this book 5 stars because it was just a really, really good read. No pun intended. So some of the themes, and I think that this is important to know before going into the book, because some of it I think could be a little bit triggering for people. So of course they're talking about like teenage pregnancy, and some of the girls that were pregnant in this book got pregnant by people that were older than them. So that I think that's just like very important to note. If that's something that's like a bit triggering for you, you might not want to pick up this book, or you just want to know ahead of time to prepare yourself. They also talk about like the topic of abortion and like going to like clinics and stuff like that. If that's something that's triggering for you, you might not want to watch. Obviously, strained parent-child relationships, strained parent-grandparent relationships. Your like parents leaving kids and having them fend for themselves, or that type of thing that's mentioned in this book, and some of the characters have to work through that. Like I mentioned, racism being in your family, and how that can affect the decisions that you make as like your own person being raised by people who are racist. So it's a lot of like different layers. And then obviously like growing up knowing that like your parents didn't make the best decisions for you, or for themselves really, but you deciding what you want to do with your own life and your own children, and not having to like fall into the same categories that they were in, or make the same mistakes, that kind of thing, that they made. And of course, like the topic of like love, grieving, like your life, the life you thought you were going to have. Yeah, things like that. The book overall, I think this is a great read. It's like a normal size like hardcover, but it doesn't take you long to get through, because like I said, you want to know like what happens. The chapters aren't super long, so you push through really easily, and then it's not like draining learning about one person over and over and over, because they're going back and forth. So like sometimes a chapter will be like about Simone, sometimes it's about Emory, sometimes it's about Adela, that kind of great thing, that kind of stuff. And then I liked at the beginning too that they give you the book is split into trimesters, obviously. So like they'll do and the trimester is about Adela, because she's like currently pregnant in the book. So they'll do like first trimester, then tell you the story of what the first trimester is like, second, third, and then I think there was a little piece at the end of like the ending. So yeah, that was my hopefully spoiler-free review of The Girls Who Grew Big. Like I said, gave this book 5 stars, and I need more people to read it. It's relatively new. It came out just like a few months ago. I want to say like maybe in June. I wonder if it'll say. It usually just says 2025. Yeah, but I believe June or July. So it's still new. But let me know if you have this on your TBR, or if you have already read it, and your thoughts in the comments. Of course, I will be down there responding. So that's it for me. I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, and share this video with someone that you know loves reading or is trying to get back into reading. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.